Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Hello, everyone. Today we are gathered to conduct yet another debate. We have a new face with us, Srinidhi. And the topic that we got today is English must be more prioritized over native language. And I'll be supporting the motion, whereas Srinidhi will be against it. So let us start.
yeah,
Okay. The whole fact about native language. What is native language? I believe native language is the one that is spoken by your family or your vicinity, and this makes me believe that since it is spoken a lot, English should be more prioritized than your native language, because you are already in the environment where native language has been spoken. So I have around four reasons why I believe English should be more prioritized. Firstly, about global unity, about foreign unity. Like if you have to compete with some globalization, or if you have to move from one place to another, I think having access to English is one of the most easiest way to communicate or grab deals. Nextly, about widely spoken. Yes, it is widely spoken language. You can find it at any call centers, even on the phone settings. Like English is more prioritized, and like you get it everywhere, and thus it makes me more believe that you should prioritize English more than the native language. My next point would be about scientific words like quantum, trigonometry. There's no other, like I don't even know what you call it in your native language. So to have this technical reach, I believe again that English must be more prioritized. And my last point is about the trends. And like currently we are into AI generation, where we do prompts and everything, and none of the prompts currently are not built for any native language. And to be in the far in your career itself, I think English should be more prioritized, and it will definitely help you build better prompts, better connect to the world. And yeah, this is where I strongly believe that English should be more prioritized. And just to sum up, for the unity, for the global reach, for your better development, I believe having more grab onto English is much more better as compared to the native language. Yes, and I rest my case. Over to Srinidhi.
yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Um, I'll be siding with the fact that native languages are to be prioritized more. Essentially, because as we see the world moving towards a global, unified stage, travel has become easier. Economies have eased up. Economies have come together in such a grand force. Native languages are somewhere dying because of English. We see that kids being born in India do not know their own mother tongue; they're just speaking English. It's not bad per se, but as a cultural diverse land, where even our currency note has 15 languages on it, and then we have 450 languages that are spoken outside of it. Not knowing more languages is kind of a drawback right now. Coming back to your native tongue, it is something that you're born with. It is something that is extremely culturally significant. If you go to examples of countries like Japan and China, where English is barely spoken, it's less than a percentage of people who speak English there. Their cultural significance or their technological supremacy is unquestioned. Even China, for that sake, Japan, for that sake, even their phone companies or whatever, they are globally leading companies. So much so that US had to ban Chinese companies just so that their competition or their companies are not affected as much by it. So when we look at that, uh, and you come back to see as English being prioritized, it is not necessary that English should be prioritized in curriculum. I'd say rather focus more on the native languages and give them more focus. If you're native, give them more focus to learn what they actually want to learn. So if Konkani is your native language, for our case, for example, there are teachers who can teach Konkani far better than what is being taught right now. Instead of focusing just on literature, maybe focus more on the history of Konkani, or how was Prakrit a mything. Prakrit was the father of Konkani, I'd say. Prakrit gave Sanskrit was father of all languages, mother of all languages. Prakrit probably is the father of Konkani and Marathi, from which Marathi and Konkani were both derived. Um, of course, it has a lipi as well. So that is how Konkani came into birth. But many Goans or many other students of Konkani barely know the fact. They don't know how Konkani came into being or how any other languages came into being. So that kind of focus has to be given. That kind of nativity has to be given. Not just focusing on global reach is. Mm, it is there. English is, as the exposure of English is far higher than any other languages in our day-to-day life. English you will 100% know English no matter what. You have to know it. But prioritizing English when it is already prioritized so high is not needed. So native languages should be given more of a push because they need it more than anything else. And yeah, that is where I will rest my case.
Yes, rebuttal phase, asking each other's question.
Mhm.
Maybe you could go ahead. I'll start.
Okay.
I'll.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure,
Uh,
sure.
okay, if I do agree to you, Sunidhi, about native languages being more focused, then why does there's always disunity between like currently we have seen the issues in like Maharashtra, like they focus on people who are speaking Marathi. Why do you think that exists? Don't you feel there should be a
Yeah, yeah.
uniform language?
That's correct. That's a really nice. See, in a country like India, if to first have to understand the fact that India is different from a lot of other countries. Again, if I say give you examples of Japan and China or other countries, other Middle Eastern countries, not Middle Eastern, Southeastern countries as well. Um, India has far more languages than a lot of other countries combined. So Japan, it's Japanese. So everybody, of course, dialects are different in different parts of Japan. Shibuya, or something, they have different dialects. Chinese, of course, the northern part of China, southern part of China, even the eastern part of China has different dialects. India, every state has different languages. Every taluka has different languages. Every taluka has different dialects. Every district has different dialects. Just in Goa, every different part of Goa has different dialect of Konkani. When you look at this kind of diversity, imposing one language does seem like a bit of suppression. So when I look at cases of not just Maharashtra, Karnataka, even Tamil Nadu, and especially the South, who feel like we are learning Hindi, but nobody is learning our language. So our language is more at a risk than their language. To some extent, it might be true, but that doesn't mean that you're preserving your language, sorry, impose or disimposing other languages like Hindi or removing it from your boards will will give your language a boost anyway. Since you're speaking English more than your actual language, your language is still at risk from English itself. So removing Hindi is not doing as much as you, not even doing a percentage of what you think, because your language is still in danger from a far bigger language like English than it is from Hindi or from any other language for that sake. So your case of saying that you're imposing a language on us like Hindi, it doesn't actually stand, because then English is being imposed more on you than any other thing. Where this arises from, according to me, is political influence, is essential. You feed into the minds of people that anybody is speaking Hindi or anybody speaking other than your mother tongue is an outsider, or they're coming from the outside. And you drill this into the minds of people so much so that anyone who comes from outside and speaks Hindi, immediately in your mind, it's like, okay, this guy is an outsider. He is an outsider. So how will he know about my culture? How can he speak about my culture? So that is how it's being said for a lot of different states. Of course, in the South, it's far more prominent. And you even see it politically, right? No other national party has been able to penetrate these southern states. It is because this, of course, it can be a lot of other reasons as well. But I feel personally it's one of these reasons where you've drilled it into the minds of people that anyone who's speaking Hindi is an outsider. And they just cannot come and do anything there. You're just an outsider. Do your thing, come for tourism, come for temples, and leave. And I believe it's a form of cancer that's spreading slowly towards the top, coming from the bottom, going up, reaching Karnataka, reaching, of course, Andhra is a little bit safer because they lean towards other ideologies, but it's coming towards Goa, reaching Maharashtra as well. So it shouldn't be like that, but unfortunately it is. So coming to your major question, unfortunate that it is happening, that native languages are given a push, but then that push is turning toxic. It shouldn't be that case, but again, coming to how states are responding to it will be left to see how it actually turns out to be. So again, my rebuttals to you would be like you mentioned about English. I mean, English is since you said that native language exposure is far than English, or you already speak native language a lot more. I would actually question the fact and say that English exposure is far higher, because everything you do in your day-to-day life, your applications, your phone, your computer, your writing, your education is majorly happening in English. So how would you see your English exposure is eventually hampering your native language exposure itself? That so much so that people do not know certain words for their own mother tongues. They'll like, okay, so many other things. Of course, I don't have an example that's coming out of my head right now, certain words that just like also this, there, that, this. So certain English words have replaced your mother tongue in a way that you've forgotten what the original words for your mother tongue actually was. So how would you say? How would you justify saying that? Since you speak a lot of native tongue, English maybe would should be prioritized more.
Uh, yes, that is a valid concern. Like it would just erode a complete culture, I would say. But uh, but if we go on the wider perspective, I believe, it should be the responsibility of the parents and the early age, like whoever is teaching in maybe kgs or primary. They should inculcate a lot of sense of konkani to them, mother tongue to them. But most of the later half, whatever we'll be doing, like dealing in corporate or most of the other stuffs will be mostly handled in English. So having much, I do agree that parents should inculcate mother tongue at the initial stage. But as you are growing, like as you are having your maximum time, I think the more prioritization should be given to English, so that after your base, like you could spread out your, once your route is set, you could spread out your, branches to the entire, like whichever vicinity you want to take.
And you also mentioned the fact that AI and all cannot be done in other languages apart. I will bet differ from that. I believe if you use DeepSeek, DeepSeek was actually originally meant to be Chinese focused. It's a Chinese based AI, and it understands Mandarin pretty well, traditional Mandarin as well as modern Mandarin pretty well. Apart from that, there's a Japanese AI as well that's also based towards Japanese clients, towards Japanese people. And coming to like mathematical stuff, trigonometry or quantum mechanics, a lot of these scientific principles find their origin in India, and states like these where there's a lot of Hindu influence. Ganit Shastra or a lot of other words where you can find the origin of zero was invented, I believe, far before English or anything became anything. For that sake, like even complex sciences like astronomy or astrology were first developed when English was not even a thing. Of course, now they've been far more influenced by the Western cultures, and they've become this English thing that they came up with. But again, saying that you have to know English just to know this would sort of be wrong, because our country itself is a major proof that that's not the case. So, yeah, that's just a point I wanted to keep on.
Okay, I have another question, Srinidhi. Don't you feel for tourism or abroad education or abroad work, having understanding in English will be much beneficial?
Of course, yeah. When you're going to another culture, and getting to know that culture would always be significant. Same thing for anyone coming to India or anyone coming to Goa as well. It is like the language of the land. So, not knowing the language or absolutely having zero knowledge about the language will affect your part of being there in the first place. So, that case will always stand. When you're going abroad, you're going to the UK, you're going to European countries that do not speak English, for example, Germany or Poland, or any other country that's have their own the Netherlands for that sake. Knowing their language is kind of mandatory for their sake. For Germany, the English speaking population is so less that you have to learn German. It's kind of an imposition on your own sake. That is why many people here they start with Duolingo or they take up German classes or French classes just so that they can blend in with the people. So it's easier for them. If you only speak English, if you only know English in those countries, you are you're you're going to be doomed very soon, because it's going to be very hard for you to merge it. Globalization again, coming back to India, going outside, there's no question you have to know English just because it's a global language at this point of time. Whatever be the reason, the British acquisition, the British colonization fever, we just have so many colonies across the countries that they have just totally taken over that part. So that you cannot deny that English is a global language in part of tourism as well. Abroad tourism, of course, you will need to know English, but domestic tourism, hinterland tourism, I believe native languages should be given a push. And by pushing, I don't mean the way that southern states or Maharashtra or any other states is pushing, that you have to know our language to be here. You have to speak Kannada, you have to speak Tamil, you have to speak Marathi, you have to speak Konkani. That is not going to do shit. That is not going to do absolutely anything for your cause. Although they are free to think that it will, that you're doing this, it's just going to ruin your image in front of the entire world. So many states have. I get that your ideology is pushing your language or preserving your language, but that is far. If you want to actually preserve your language, you have to preserve it by speaking it teaching it to other people, making taking. If your friend is a non-Konkani person, you want to teach him Konkani. You can't just do it by just speaking Konkani to him when he's not understanding anything. You have to do it by showing him the culture. Slowly teaching him words, slowly teaching him sentences, languages. That is how they pick up on it. That is how they learn Konkani slowly by slowly. If you just say, "Hey, no, you have to speak Konkani to me," nobody's going. It's just a immovable object meeting a unbreakable wall. Or something. That is what's going to happen. So, if you globalization part, English absolutely needed. There's no debating that because you're going out, because you're there. English is a global language at this point of time. Whether it should have been is a debatable part, but it is. Can't do anything about it. Comes to India, we should actually focus more on native languages, give a push to native languages, give native education far better opportunities, whatever the language may be. Start pushing small subjects, small stories or books in these languages. Let the people learn how rich their history is, with their heritage is. Automatically, you will start being a lot more curious about your own language. It is what it is.
Do you have any other questions, Srinidhi, or can we move to the next one?
Yeah, I don't have any other specific questions. We can move on. Yeah.
Yeah, feedback part. Do you have any feedback?
No, feedback in the sense I believe the scope of the topic remains very, very small in my regards. English, again, as I mentioned, is a global language at this point. Debating the importance of English in day-to-day life is actually foolish at this point. It's like saying, do you need to use a mobile phone at this age? It's as foolish as that.
Hmm.
Everybody at this point of time, you need to know English, you need to have a phone. What that does is inadvertently it affects your native language at this point. So, as I said, right, people, I have my cousins in the US and they just don't know Konkani at all.
Hmm.
And that is kind of upsetting, but it's not their fault because they are coming from a culture that is based from there and they've been living there for almost 15, 20 years. So, expecting them to know Konkani and then when they come to Goa, demeaning them, "Ki, hey, you don't know Konkani, what, you're a Konkan guy, you don't know Konkani." That again is not going to do any favors to anyone. So that is what I want to say. Like when you're imposing your language, teaching your language to anyone, teach it with love, teach it with
Yes.
some pride, so that when they actually learn that language, they want to learn that language, rather than they are being forced to learn that language just because nobody around them is speaking that language. Because if that happens, they'll speak it for the sake of it, but they are never going to learn it per se.
Learn it.
It's just going to be communicational languages, or to catch an auto rickshaw or to catch a bus ticket, and it will be just be limited to that part. So if that is what you want, your culture is just being limited for the sake of it. Your language is not actually growing; it will shrink down even further. So teach it with pride, teach it with love, so that you expose them to the richness of your heritage, richness of your culture. So they want to learn the language rather than you teaching them, and they'll themselves make an effort to actually watch movies in Konkani, watch dramas in Konkani, or whatever, get a book or something.
Hmm.
That is what should happen essentially. But again, coming to English part, there's no denying that English is a global language at this point. So saying that English, is just limited to everything is not going to happen. So it is kind of both ways. So if we have to meet in the middle because there's no other way else. India has to succeed. English and native languages both have to come together. There's no other way.
Yeah, very nicely said, Srinidhi. Do you have any feedback for like how we could improve or what was wrong in each other's, like good or bad? One thing about you, I really like how you are great at elaboration. Like one point you elaborate so very well. I really would admire and love to learn from that from you. You mentioned a lot of stuff like Prakrit, and it shows you are a well-read person, and that gives a very good edge. Uh, I truly accept your answer about the political that part you mentioned when I said why is there imbalance in the language. I really like that. From my side, I think I was more supportive in the other place. Like I am more supportive to the native language, but it was okay. Like I don't have any negative feedback for myself. One negative feedback I don't know, but you are not looking much into the camera. Like yeah, that is what I would say.
Yeah, yeah, I prefer
Maybe
not to look at
you
people
are
when I'm
in like
speaking.
audience person and you were like looking at the audience, right?
Correct, correct, correct.
Yes.
So I don't like looking at people when I'm speaking. I like thinking a lot.
Uh-huh.
That's the thing. When you think, you look and talk. So
On top,
there's
yeah.
a science to it that when you look at the left, when you look at the right side, your right brain is the one that's working. You look at the left brain, it's the one that's working. So the right brain, I think, is the logical part. The left brain is the imagination part. So whenever this is a nice fact actually, if you just want to know it. So
Yes.
if you're asking a person, if you're asking a person about something, and they look at the right side,
Hmm.
that means they're actually thinking about whether they went to that particular thing or that they did that particular thing or not. If they're looking towards the left side, that means they're actually imagining that things happen. So it's possible that they're making things up. So it is a nice behavioral tact that even when I was doing debates, I used to look at people, and if they looked at the left side, that means they're not very confident about something that they would speak. So we would drill them on that particular topic. So that's a nice little scientific thing. I don't prefer looking at people. It just makes me nervous. It just distracts me for some extent. So I prefer looking around me. Although there's nothing, there's just a window behind me. I like looking there. So it helps me keep points in track. So yeah, it's something that again I have to improve, but I've gotten used to it so much. It remains. Coming to your feedback, Kevin, I believe you're speaking really, really well. I've not had the chance to have debates with you or see debates with you, but I don't think I do at least. But really well spoken. Some of the points were really nicely put, very well put. But again, negative feedback, I wouldn't say. Some parts maybe, like for example, the part that you put up 4 points, right?
Yeah.
And the 4 points, one I think was the English exposure part. One was the
Like call
what's the
centers, phone settings, scientific words.
global. That was one. Scientific words was one. AI was one. And second part, I was it global unity or something. I'm not
Yeah, 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 global
sure.
unity.
Correct. Only thing that I felt was all four of these points were easily negatable pretty easily.
Easily.
Essentially, even without having any kind of research. For example, English exposure part, English is far more exposed to us in day-to-day life. Global unity, there are great examples like China and Japan, like I mentioned.
Yes. Oh,
Trigonometry, global again, scientific parts. India itself is such a great example. And then AI maybe was not so easy. You have DeepSeek and stuff like that. But even then, uh, only one thing I would recommend to you is come up with complex points so that the other person has to think about, even if it's 2 points, even if it's 1 point, coming up with, because I had absolutely no points except I developed your exposure point into my own point because I didn't
wow.
have as many points to put forth.
Yes.
Correct. So when you come up with points, I had only one, you had four. So even if you're coming up with 1 point, make sure that the point is a little bit more complex. Don't go for quality, don't go for quantity, go for quality,
Quality.
and that will just significantly increase your debate chances
Yes.
anyway. And if at all you are point dumping, if you feel that you have to put forth more and more points, in this case there is not a lot of points to put forth. I believe what you came up with is exactly what I would have come up with if I was on your side. But yeah, that's pretty good. So I would personally say that go for quality
Quality.
over quantity, and that will help you a lot because the scope narrows down a little bit further, and that gives you more of a chance to have one-on-ones rather than just running around the room.
Yes, yes.
And me too. I'd have liked to be on your side of this debate because I believe English has to be taught a little bit more. But again, that's a personal opinion. As I said, I believe both sides are pretty. Maybe 51-49. I would side with you.
Good part is
Um,
the next phase is thinking from the other side, so we'll get some good.
okay.
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want to add more on the feedback? I totally agree to that feedback that you gave me, like about the quality rather than the quantity, like amount of point, because almost all the 4 points were exactly like 1 point, like if they were overlapping a lot, but still
No,
like
no,
one.
that I wouldn't say that you were overlapping a lot. There were different points. I
Uh-huh.
would give you that. There were different points. There were diverse points. But if I have to put it nicely, I'd say there were much easy points to negate.
Uh-huh.
Right? If this was happening at like a computational level, these points would be negated very easily in the very first 30 seconds itself. And then you're giving the opponents the next one and a half minute or 2 minutes or whatever the time is to make new points. So what they have done is they've not only shown that okay, your points were easy, I've negated all your points, and now I'm putting forth my point.
Hmm.
So they've done two things that within a very short span of time. So they've put you down and they've taken themselves up. So never allow that to happen. Of course, that's more of a competitional level mindset. At this debate, it won't really matter.
Yeah.
But if at all that's the focus, make sure to come up with some bit of complexity. So if their part of the topic is negating your points, it should take them at least 50 to 60 to 70% of the top of their time, just so that they're putting you down, and then whatever 10 seconds, 20 seconds remain, they can come up with their own points. That is the suggestion.
That's a very good insight, I would say. Okay, Shinri, let's go to the next phase, thinking from the other perspective.
Yeah,
Let's take 1 or 2 minutes to think from that.
sure.
Shinri, tell me when you're ready, okay? Good. Good.
Yeah, we can go.
We could start now?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Would you like to start first?
sure. Um, Coming from your side of the topics, after having heard your part of the arguments, my suggestion or my add-on to those would be actually just 2 points because we covered a lot of it.
Hmm.
One thing India has been known for right now is India is a very typecast country in a lot of ways. When people say India, whatever, because of social media or whatever you call it, globally, diplomatically, we are doing amazing. We're doing really great. But when it comes to the actual people part of things, on Instagram or social media, India is extremely typecast. More so that Pakistan is looking like a better country than India on social media. It is not. It is not. Absolutely not. But it is what it looks like. So where we have to and this typecast is in terms of food, in terms of culture. Where the street food, they just show about three types of people, and he's touching his shoes, touching his legs, or and they're like, oh, this is Indian food. And then again, in terms of English, if you say per se, Indian accent is a very funny accent. A lot of TV shows have made fun of it. On the news, they make fun of it. Japanese accent, or sorry, Chinese accent or African accent, they're not made as much fun of as you compare to an English or Indian accent. So it is what it is. You can't help anything with it. It was started by whatever TV shows, and now it is here. So where we should be focusing on as a country or as a developing country is fluency of English. Some of our people have really good knowledge. Some of our scientists or teachers or whatever, they have really good knowledge of what they are doing, but the ability to express themselves in terms of English is far limited. There's actually a nice story by R. Madhavan, who's a great guy. He is from Jamshedpur, I believe. Some of his friends, he was working for Tata, if I'm not wrong, and some of the senior executives were friends of his. So some of his friends were interviewing for Tata, and they were actually rejected. Since he was working for Tata, I knew these guys. He just asked him, why was the rejection? There's a nice video of it on YouTube. You can have a look at it. He speaks about it in some conclave. He asks them why was the rejection done, and they tell him it was done based on their language. They were not well spoken enough. And he felt a little bit weird because when you're at a company, what they do matters more than what they speak. And then he asked them, he requested them, "Ki if you could send interviewers who are better at their native tongue, I think it was, I don't know what the language they speak there, Bhojpuri or whatever, Hindi or whatever." And when they actually sent them in, all four, all five of them were actually selected for the company. They were working at TCS, some Tata Motors, I think. So that is what it is. Fluency of English, but at this point of time, that was I think 10, 12 years ago. This point of time, you can't argue that English, not knowing English is kind of a sin. For education, for your work, you have to be very, very fluent with English.
Hmm.
Because if you present your point in broken English, even if your point is really nice, that point just dies down because the English was so. And that shouldn't happen to anyone. Your language it should be a medium rather than a way of judging you. It is a medium that you convey, not your information itself. So that part has to be focused on in schools as well, where spoken English is given far, far more priority than this written English, where you're doing this find the noun, find the pronoun, adverb, all of that stuff. That is important, yes. But in real life, spoken communication, spoken English should be given significantly higher priority. And hopefully that happens in the education system, where you're just not writing shit, you're actually speaking it, and that's how you know what's actually.
Hmm.
Coming again to the last point, like it's part of the first point that I just mentioned. English should be a tool so that you're taking your culture to the world using English as a tool rather than making it the entire toolbox. You should present your point, present your culture in English
Hmm.
so that other people know, okay, this is what it is. And it's happening. That part I believe is happening because other social media people are getting active. They're telling the world, okay, this is India, this is India. Via English. So that's already happening. The first part, maybe you should focus a little bit more. That's where
Yes. Okay, from your side, those are really some of the great, very nice points, Shindi. From your side, I have some points, and I would like to mention them. Firstly, about perfect English is not considered to be a perfect language, whereas other languages like Sanskrit is considered perfect language because you could just rearrange the words and the sentence still remain intact. And English has a lot of exceptions. I would say like
correct.
read, read could be said read also. So that would have been my one point. Nextly, about you mentioned it bluntly about some of the vocabulary words. Maybe I could have given example like othembe, which is like drops after the rain, whichever falls from the tree. Like there are so many good words which you can't really translate directly to English. Even guru, you can't just say guru is a teacher. So I would say for that reason, for the emotional depth, native language is far more beneficial. I would say. Nextly, about dying of culture, like maybe in Kerala, like there are movies like Jallikattu or RRR last year. Like they push their culture, they push their story. Even Parasite from South Korea, like they have their understanding of regional language and they push it so far. But we would not even watch Konkani movie, and that is why they are not able to compete globally. So I would say that is one reason why we should focus more on the native language. My next point would be about movie transition. Just like you can't really translate everything. Movies are like whatever you see, in that word, it is good. Like maybe with subtitles. My next point would be about parents are imposing English to children at early stage, like 1 2 year, like they tend to speak with them in English, which spoils a lot of their base. I would say, and as I've also mentioned, like the foundation should be good so that your native culture at least well, and then you could go and your branches apart and do whatever you want from the other side. And my last point would be about you might with English you may win globally, but for peace and your native peace and your surrounding peace, I think you should really know your native language well. And that is those are few of my points.
Yeah, very nice. Emotional depth point is really nice. That didn't cross my mind. So it's a really nice point. Yeah, emotional. That's very true. Actually, English lacks a lot of emotional depth. There is no respect in English. I'd say it is purely communicative. There's of course that's one of the reasons why it's used globally because it's very simple. Everyone is sir. Everyone is uncle. Everyone is auntie. There is no kaka, kaki, mama, mami. Everybody is uncle.
Yes.
Everybody is him, everybody is her. There's no, that diversification is not there. That's why native languages have that respect, tumka, tumi,
Mhm.
tu. That is a very significant part of our language or Indian languages in general or other languages as well. So that part is really nice. I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, those were some of the points. The next phase is group discussion. Do you want to discuss any on the topic, or we have already discussed enough? Do you want to say
Yeah, I
anything?
believe. I don't think we have. It's a very significant. We've talked a lot of
We
about
talked a
it
lot of
already.
it. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, we could go maybe to next phase of 1 minute on ChatGPT or internet. Like any points which we forgot or any statistic you want to find. We could go ahead, Shindy.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Mm. Would you like to start? Did you get any new?
Yeah, I did. I don't not say it's new, but there are some points that I missed out. Of course, there are derivatives of points that we already discussed. Still, mentioning them would be relevant. One of them is the fact that mm, what is it? Just find it. So again, social mobility is one of the points that is mentioned, which is very nice because knowing English has global implications, of course, like we mentioned, but it also translates into something called as upward mobility, which is a really nice point. So you get a chance to go up in your career or just translate it to other states. For example, if I know English really well, I can go for a job in Bangalore, I can go for a job in Mumbai, Hyderabad, Delhi, wherever. But if my learnings or teachings are in Marathi or Konkan or Kannada, and I take that to a city like Delhi or Mumbai, my upward mobility would be real less, which would eventually trap me in my own local
Hmm.
economy. Where even if I have a lot of education, I may have a master's in that particular language, but I'm not able to do anything with it. So that upward mobility is a really good point, I feel.
Yes. Yes.
So practicality, again, that is something that we discussed. India has 22 official languages. I think I said 15, so maybe I was wrong. And then there's 1600 dialects as well, which is, I believe, is far more after the census time. So when you have this kind of diversity in a country like India, it is very difficult promoting one particular language. So yeah,
Yes.
politically sensitive as well, and difficult as well. So what did you get?
I got like most of the points are repeating, but I really liked how they framed the word. Like we mentioned about scientific words, but here they mentioned like access to knowledge. Most scientific research, tech resources, and higher education materials are in English. It serves as standardization. Like there's no different word for different same things, so it makes learning easier. So this is one nice point that I like. And one part is I did not really think languages could get endangered or extinct, which I just realized there are many languages which get endangered. So that is one of the nice point I
There
made.
is an extinct language as well. There is an extinct language as well. I don't know where. I think it was African language. There was the last guy who was speaking the language, and he refused to teach it to anybody because I don't know the exact story, but he just refused to teach it to anybody. He would speak it himself, or they would just go secret when other people would talk about it. And that language did go extinct. So that's then also a case of that happening.
Yes.
So there's a very strong chance, but in his case, he was a tribal person from a very minority group in Africa, Southern Africa. So in his case, it was far more prominent of that happening. Many of his colleagues were killed in natural disasters, or just because of they refused to get modernized. In our case, an Indian language is going a language going extinct in this era is very difficult, if not impossible. So that's not going to happen. I would like to say very confidently that a language won't go extinct, at least in the
Yes.
extremely near far future as well. But yeah, it is a real thing. It could happen. It
It could
has
happen.
happened. So
Yeah. Yeah. Those were some of the points, Srinidhi. That's it.
yeah,
Yeah. How was
yeah.
it? Did you like the whole?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. It's nice. I've been away from debates for a very long time now. So it's always some of the things that one of the only things that I used to do in college was to go to debates
Yes.
with Smayan as well. So you can get him if he's not on debate. You can get him. He's also a great debater.
Ismail.
Me and him. So Smayan Sapre, my debate partner. We
Ah.
used to go together for a lot of debates. Won some, didn't win some.
Yes.
Really nice experiences. This is something that I used to do really, really passionately in college. So it's nice visiting it back. So it felt really nice. Um,
Yeah. Even I
thank you.
like I learned a lot of things from you, and like even I had a good day.
Likewise, likewise. Thank you so much.
You were saying something, Srinidhi?
No, no, I'm
Like
just saying likewise.
yeah.
Same thing. I did learn a lot from you as well. Very nice talking to you. You are
Yes.
a really good speaker. You should improve upon it. It really help you get to stages in life as well. Communication always is more prioritized these days. Having a good hold on communication, structured communication is very. People don't underestimate that. I don't know why they do, but it is underestimated a significant amount these days.
Hmm.
So, having good communication skills, having good structured communication skills, can become a defining factor not just in your personal life, but also much more in your professional life.
Yes.
Can be the difference between getting a promotion and not getting a promotion. It is important.
It is important. Yeah, Srinidhi. Yes, I think we could wrap, right? Or is there anything else?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Nah,
It,
we
it,
could try.
it was great having you, Srinidhi. Just a second, okay? I'll just. Shall we plan one topic for next week for the research based or
Yeah, yeah, sure.
okay?
Works.
Okay. I'll just stop the meet and we'll do that.